One, my friend. This is already. Listen, the moments right before a podcast are sometimes gold, and we have to stop the gold so that we can get everything turned on and go. My friend Dusty Stinson, how are you, my man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, we will get into some of the funny stuff here in just a minute.
I want you to tell me about what kind of coffee you're drinking.
Okay, this is a. Oh, that's good. That's a good setup.
Mm-hmm.
This is a sugar-free. This is a man's drink.
It
Dusty.
is.
Okay. First of all, I want you to notice the rawness with which you see. There's no sleeve on this.
No sleeve.
There's no protective sleeve. You want to know why? These are man's hands holding this. Okay. This is a sugar-free, non-fat almond milk regular. You want to know why? I don't need flavor.
That's right.
Because I'm spicy enough, folks.
That's right.
It's the bougiest drink. Now wait a minute. Hold on. Stop.
Okay.
How are you going to accuse me of being bougie? Because of all my friends, I am the most bougie, except for one. And I happen to be sitting across from the one that is more bougie than I am, for sure.
I don't drink ladies' coffee. That's all I've got.
Okay, hang on. I'm getting hot. I'm going to put that down because there's no sleeve on it. Okay, so you and I grew up in Gadsden, Gadsden area.
Yep.
We are almost exactly the same age.
Yep,
How's it feel
right.
to be 40? You digging it?
Yeah.
Whoa, a little hesitation there.
It was, I think I had a little bit of time to digest it. It was a little, I was like, man.
Was it traumatic?
We're 20 years from 60.
When you say it like that, it hurts a little bit.
I was like, we've already lived our best years.
No. We're
I
just
hope
getting
not.
better. We're getting better. So seriously, our birthdays are one day apart.
Yep.
I'm 1 day older than you.
Yep.
I love the fact. Thank God it's not the other way around. I'd never lived through that. So we have known each other. I knew your parents, your mom, and who's with your dad, who has gone on to be with the Lord.
Yep.
And what a character he was. We've got to talk a little bit about Max.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And we have many mutual interests. Obviously, business will probably be, maybe not, kind of what we talk about a little bit today. You're one of the people, and I'm gonna love on you here, but then I'm gonna tear you down some more. So I like to wrap a compliment in an insult. Is the way I do.
I hear you.
You're one of the people that I will call, because our lives, because you've done some ministry what I call ministry consulting. You've done that here with Flow Church. Our lives are a little bit reversed in that the lion's share of what I do is ministry, but then also have a business on the side. And yours is probably the reverse. Right. You're primarily in the business world, but you still always available in the ministry world to do some things. And so you're one of the people that I will call and reach out to if I need some business advice, because it's a different mind you have to click over into. But then we also like a lot of the same things. Now, wait a minute. Now, Alabama and Auburn, we're not together on that. You're sadly, there's a few things you're doing wrong that we're going to have to handle on this podcast. Auburn being one of those. I'm an Alabama fan, Roll Tide. We both lost this past weekend, so whatever.
Praise God.
But then John Maxwell, that's something in our world. We like the leadership stuff. Now, you have really gone far in that. Am I right?
I have, yeah. So we've done a lot of.
Pastor Matt.
What's up, my man? We've done a lot of different things with John Maxwell, one of which in, I think it was 2018, we got to spend the weekend with him at his home in West Palm Beach, and that was absolutely amazing.
I'm not a jealous man, but I will flat out tell you I was jealous of that. I would
go
man.
Again in a second.
No doubt.
It was amazing. It was us and about 20 different leaders and pastors. It was through Equip, when Equip was kind of one of their organizations. I don't think they really use that as much anymore. And we got to have dinner at his house and sit in his library with him while he showed us John Wesley's hymnal where he hand wrote.
Oh my gosh!
All these hymns, and it was an unbelievable experience. And I literally felt like I absorbed a lifetime of information in a weekend.
Are you a John Maxwell certified? Was it a coach, leader?
So
I know your mom is.
Yeah, my mom finished that program. I did not ever complete that program.
I have looked. I've had several people.
Who cares?
Do it.
I said I went to his house.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I recently have become friends with a pastor who is friends with John, and he'll just rattle off. I was with John the other day, right. and he spoke at a Ron Carpenter's conference. I've not seen him do any church stuff in a long time. and I know he came out of the church. He was a pastor,
Right.
But he spoke at Ron Carpenter. Of course, I'm in his fellowship.
Right.
He spoke at his 212. Was it 212? Is that what he spoke at? And I was like, whoa, maybe John's coming back to the church world.
John always ends anything he does with a salvation message, even if it's in the business
Really?
world. Yeah, he always says, "Hey, I'm going to tell
Glory to God.
Yeah, he said I'm going to tell you my story. You can leave or you can stay." And everybody always chooses to stay,
Well,
and
sure,
he gets
yeah.
to share the gospel message, which is amazing. John is he's ridiculous. There's nobody on this planet like him, and I think about it often. One day he won't be with us on this earth, and who takes that place? Who picks up that mantle?
Okay, wow, going deep real quick. Wow, yeah. Okay, now this is interesting. Of course, first, hang on. Before we launch, let me make sure we establish this, because I want people to this podcast is just built off whoever I like, whoever I'm friends with, whoever I think's interesting is who I want to bring in and talk. Because our conversations.
Oh, hold on, I'm his 21st favorite person.
No, hang on, wait. How many of those were solo podcasts? Y'all got to say, I need a crew here to help me. Anyway, no, you're only the third guest. You're at least number 3 for sure.
Number 3.
But interesting conversation. I'm afraid there's so many people out there having boring conversations all throughout the course of their day. And so just one of the things that you and I enjoy talking about is we like to admire and emulate great men. John Maxwell, my friend from afar, Lee Cockrell, the man who used to, everybody at church rolls their eyes when I talk about that, because it just, when you're around someone like that, everything they say and do,
it's ridiculous.
You can tell their operating system is different than mine. But you can absorb it. You can start sort of picking it up. Just a lunch or a coffee or going over to their house, like some people get to do. You get to absorb the way they think, the way they process, and it's fascinating. Yeah. That's something we love to sit around it. And now one of those characters, Steve Wynn, maybe not someone we want to throw up on that on the pedestal. His business acumen is fantastic, but maybe morality not quite.
Yeah,
putting that out there on YouTube. Now, I've said that. That's me, not Dusty, saying that.
No, so. I definitely have read some of Steve Wynn's books, and obviously he's in it. For those of you that don't know, he's in the casino and the gambling industry, but he is an amazing mind in our world right now that has developed some amazing systems. So,
yeah. Let's talk about this story. So, you are the primary reason that Misty and I went to Las Vegas for our 20th wedding anniversary.
Oh well. I'm glad I was.
Let's tell this story. Misty wanted to go somewhere tropical, which everybody knows I'm not a fan of. Right. This is another area where we differ. And I'm different than a lot of people.
Remind me to tell you about Pigeon Forge this weekend.
Okay. Are you going this weekend?
No, we went this past weekend.
Oh, man, how you didn't tell me that. I feel, you loved it, didn't you? Okay, all right, we'll come back to it.
Yeah, just come back to it. It's a big story.
Dusty, I am your friend. You need to thank God I'm in your life on a daily, because I help you a lot. Disney and Pigeon Forge. I
appreciate Disney. I can appreciate it.
Did you hear that? Anyway, so she was wanting to go somewhere tropical, and I'm like, oh, God. She's like, I want to sit on the, and I was like, because we do Disney, and I may tell, that's a good business thing that we do. We'll talk about the whole reason we do that. But we were wanting to do something big. It's 20th anniversary, so we think we got to do something different than what we normally do. So we were looking at all these different destinations, and I texted you and I said, hey, Grand Canyon is out there, the Valley of Fire, and of course stay in Vegas. And I had known you'd gone to Vegas. At that time, I thought you'd just gone 1 or 2 times. I didn't know it was like a place that you really like going to. So I texted you, and you immediately started talking about saying, hey, this is where you need to go. You need to stay here, and telling me about the different. And we had a blast. And I remember we FaceTimed you. We stayed at the Bellagio, which look that up if you don't know anything about Vegas. Look up the Bellagio. It's a killer hotel resort. We FaceTimed you. Now we were 2 hours ahead, but I think it was still like 7:30 our time. And you were going to bed.
No, probably was in the bed.
Going to bed. Yeah. Dusty got here today. Ready for this? 33 minutes early. Now I was 17 minutes early.
I should have known.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 33 minutes early. You're an early riser.
Sure. I've been up since 3:50 this morning.
What are you doing?
Like, I go to the gym.
I do too.
Yeah. I coach CrossFit, and so I had to coach this morning. So I get to the gym. I try to run before the class, and try to do a little bit of extra stuff, and get there and have the class.
By
ready.
the time you're 50, you're going to be on third shift.
Maybe.
What time do you go to bed?
You know, I like to be laying in the bed at 8:30 and asleep by 9 to 9:15.
Well, I would think it would be earlier than that if you're getting up. Do you get up before 4 every day?
Yeah. I mean, that's my day. Every day. Not on the weekend.
Now we have been seeing each other at ball games here recently because you've.
That's killing my schedule.
Yeah, or even on Saturday, even after a Friday night.
No, it'll be about a 6 a.m.
Oh.
Call time. Yeah, it's rough. Those ball games go until 10, 10:30, 11 away games, 12.
Yeah. Well, that's my argument. This is my argument.
So.
Is, you know, I'll 6 is my preferred time. Now, if it's a ball game, I will go past. I don't care. I'll go to 9, man. Whatever. If it's you just made my face when I said that. But if I've been out late the night before, you just have to, you know. But 6 is the preferred. That's my sweet spot. But I've always known you early, and I know that all the great men say the earlier the better. I mean, I have heard that, so I'll let you speak to that. Anyway, I did a terrible job of setting up how we know one another. So obviously we're longtime friends.
Back to Las Vegas now.
Right, yeah, back to Vegas. But you own First Choice Personnel.
That's right.
Which is a staffing company.
That's correct.
And you guys have offices all over the world, or all over Alabama. You do it. Now there's what's funny. I'm going to, again, a compliment wrapped in an insult, or maybe the other way around. You are a super bougie, but you are also a very humble man and a very modest man. You're very successful. I'm going to toot your horn here. You're very successful. You have a very successful company. Everything you put your hands to do is successful, but you never go around blowing steam about that kind of thing. You're always super modest. I've seen you talk to the lowest of low, and you treat everybody equally. And that's one reason. And a lot of people that are super successful, they forget where success comes from, why they have it. You know, and so that's one reason we're pals.
Let me tell you a story, and you can set up who I am later.
There you go. All right. Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes from my dad. My dad didn't graduate high school. His highest grade completed was 9th grade.
Really? I knew he didn't graduate high school. I didn't know that. Wow.
He had to go to work. He lost all of his teeth. I don't even know if you knew that, but he had false teeth, and he lost all of his teeth at 14, and had to go to work. And you know, my dad was very successful, and thankful for what he taught me. I mean, he taught me everything I know. And you know, just that he would always, and y'all remember this. I mean, he would bring in truckloads of food, groceries for people, and he never forgot where he came from. Mm-hmm. And that was always something that is so important. It's super important to me. Like you can't forget people, you know.
Yeah, Max was a character, man. Your dad, Max, was a character. He, you never knew. You talk about, he would rattle off some great business thought, or then give you a word all in the same breath. And so I like that. I am, of course, been pastoring going on 20 years.
And he might lash you too.
Oh, he might burn you to the ground too. Yeah, if he sees you doing something, for sure. But I like you. You knew where you stood. You knew where you stood. And I have never felt like I fit the preacher mold. You know, some of these preachers, they cut grass in a suit and tie. Yeah. You know, a cheap suit and tie. and I've always liked people that were diverse in the way they carry themselves, and the way they approach life, and the way they handle things. But anyway, so that is a little bit of the connection of our friendship, and so our conversations. Of course, if I go to lunch with you, it has to be at about 10:30. It's brunch for me. I'm not going to lay off that. No, I admire that. I'll tell you, as you stay involved with kids in school, that's going to get tougher and tougher. Wait, what if you have one that plays basketball? Wait till that schedule rolls around.
None of my kids are allowed to play basketball. My daughter tried to join the Tiger Paws to cheer at all the basketball games. And
you shut that down.
Well, she shut it down, but it was coming from me.
Called the school and said, "Listen, we don't need this to happen."
That was going to be like 600 games.
Tell me about it. Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah, your kids are a little bit younger. Missy and I are seeing light at the end of the tunnel. A little bit, yeah. All of ours are driving now. About to have 2 adults in the house after birth. 2018-16 is right around the corner. So, all right. So we're living in 2021.
Wait. Did we go to Vegas?
Did we go back to Vegas? Let's go back to Vegas.
We stopped at me and Misty were.
Okay. So Misty gets a kick out of. She says that we pull the bougie out of each other.
Okay.
She says that we get together and act like a couple of girls.
Oh, me and you?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
yes.
Well, thank you,
Yeah.
Misty.
Oh God, yeah. She absolutely says. She says you and Dusty are worse than two girls ever. But so I come to her and I go, hey, and I had to wrap it like I said. What about Las Vegas, Grand Canyon?
Yeah.
Because that's something that was on our bucket list was the Grand Canyon, and I said Dusty loves it. I said Dusty and Cassie go
So
all
did
the
that
time.
sell it?
That's still the deal. She
Really?
said, well, that got her to realize it wasn't just a pitch that I was making to try to not go to some beach somewhere.
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of people, and Lord God forgive me, church people, never want to go to Las Vegas. I remember my
Sin
dad.
City.
Yeah, Sin City.
Yeah.
And, buddy, there is some sin there, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much more there. There's great food. There's lots of entertainment. And there's, it's fun.
Oh, yeah. You can totally. Of course, you and I have laughed about this. I have, if I was a rank center right now, I have no. Gambling does not tempt me at all. Now, I'm fallible, and there's things that tempt me, but gambling isn't one of them. I just view it as when you tell me the house always wins, well then there you go. That's so. Now I was amazed at walking through. It's such a dynamic. It's a weird. It's a weird crock pot to put yourself in for a second, because if you walk through a high-end casino, you're going to see the two ends of a spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to see Susan sitting there, yeah, who just retired from First Choice Personnel or just retired from Honda.
Yeah.
Right. And she's sitting there at the nickel slots, and she is convinced that her ship is about to come in.
Oh, yeah.
She's smoking a 100, right? And bless her heart. And I just wanted to walk over and just put my arm around these people and say, there's a better way.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, let's go to Chick-fil-A and talk about this.
And then you see LeBron James in there dropping $200,000 a hand.
I did see an ex-NBA player, Greg Odom, got my picture with him. Everyone asked me in the picture, why am I sitting down? He's 7'1", and so he was walking through. Yeah, so and then I went over to, oh gosh, brain is quitting. No, it's too early. Roulette. Mm-hmm. I'm watching a guy, I count the money real quick, $72,000 he had sitting on the table, and he was throwing out, 5-digit bets like it's nothing. Mm-hmm. So it is a weird experience. Different world altogether. So yeah, that was, and to most of the restaurants that they want you going through that casino. So most of the restaurants that we went and ate at, you would have to walk through the casino to get our shows or whatever we were doing, and it was just so weird because one minute you're walking through the cheap area and you've got the lady over there, or they're doing that thing. And maybe that's stereotyping. It's that typecast. Am I marginalizing people by talking about it like that? I think it's fair. And then the super wealthy. But no, we had a blast. And something you're going to do on your next trip is get that car and drive out to the Grand Canyon. Cassie was excited about that, and I'm looking forward
to that.
we were at a ball game, and I brought this up, and Dusty looked at me and said, Shane, so you'd be all about, you need to rent a Rolls and go out there.
I like
or
that.
no, a Lambo. They're right across from the Bellagio is a place that rents exotic cars.
Oh, yeah.
And come on, man, a guy like you need to be doing that.
I'm not really a Lamborghini guy. Rolls Royce. Give me
a
a
Rolls.
Ghost.
There's that bougie.
Yeah.
But now, what's the road that takes you to? Is it Route 66 that goes out? It is flat and straight, and you can see forever. That was what we had. Now, listen, Dusty, I don't want to make you feel lesser about yourself here, but we were going to rent a car. This was a bucket list item, and there's two places we were going to go in 2 days of our 4-day trip out there. The Grand Canyon, we were going to drive because we wanted to see that well-known drive. And then the Valley of Fire, which is as cool as the Grand Canyon. And so we were going to rent a car. And, I like to really roll high. And so I had a Ford Fiesta. Don't feel bad.
But you got upgraded, right?
Well, yeah. So the guy hears that it's 20 years of marriage, and he grabs the Ford Fiesta keys and says, here's a convertible Mustang. And I have a picture of me going 100. I can't believe Misty let me do this. 140 miles an hour. On Route 66, headed out to them. So it didn't take long to get out there.
Sure.
But then when we got back and we turned the car in, and I literally looked right out the window of our hotel, and there it was. And I'm sure they're probably super expensive, which I wouldn't have done it. I'm too cheap. But they had Lambos and Ferraris and they had all these sports cars that you could rent. And I thought, hey, I told Misty, I said, next time that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna and driving through the Valley of Fire is so hot. Now the heat's different. It was like 106 degrees. Yeah. But a dry heat, which is much better than humid.
No sweat.
No sweat. No. But you'll die. You won't sweat, but you'll drop dead.
About 45 minutes.
Yeah, you're dead. You are dead. And Misty can go and go and go and go and go and go and go. And so through the Valley of Fire, we got out once, but it's mainly just mountains you drive through. Mm-hmm. And in that sports car, man, that was so much fun zipping through that. Sure. And so I kept thinking, man, if we were in a Lambo, that would be. But a pastor driving a Lambo, that's not a good look. But
probably been 200 miles an hour.
But you guys went to Disney, and we were so excited for you about that. You need to do Disney.
We're going again.
Are you really?
Yeah. First.
Are you going to wear the ear? Stay on property?
No.
You're not staying.
No. I don't do that. Now I do stay in a related Disney hotel that I can get early hour access. But
I'm thrilled.
It is not on property. I mean, I don't know. It's inside the
What
circle.
is it? What is it? You mind saying it?
I don't. It's just backs up my bouginess wall.
Well, okay. I won't make you step. We have it on our bucket list. Does everybody have a bucket list? Do you have a bucket list? A written bucket list?
I do not.
It's a working list.
I do not.
Do you not?
No.
Dusty.
My life is a bucket list.
Whoa, there's a statement. I'll tweet that later. That'll be great. That'll get retweeted, I guarantee. No, we have a bucket list. On my phone, we have a typed out bucket list, and one of the things we want to try to do is stay at every resort. Okay. Just every single one, just to see. And so we picked off some of the ones that are associated but not on the property. And so we stayed at Swan and Dolphin. I don't know if you stayed at that one. It was nice. It was nice. But some of the Disney ones are fun. Yeah, I want Dusty to go to an All-Star movies while there's a Little League baseball.
No, sir. Not gonna happen.
You need to let us.
Let me tell you where I was. Well, I'll tell you the NBA. So when ESPN had the bubble down there, I stayed at the hotel that all the players were staying at. So I did see the All-Star team.
You did. Okay. That's good.
That's fair enough.
I remember when you were down there, I was texting you, and we will text each other when we're on trips to make sure we're doing it right.
I had to check in with Shane when he was in Las Vegas, making sure he was.
Are you going here? Are you going there? Yeah. I was telling you all the places we were going to eat. And we didn't do not one show. We didn't do a show.
Did you not?
No.
I thought you did end up.
No, man. We spent all of our time. We drove down the strip in that convertible just because that was just so much fun. But we walked the strip literally for about 10 minutes from the Bellagio over to Caesar's Palace.
That's about all you need.
Yeah, that's now for the sin. Now there was some heroin addict that was standing there doing the weird heroin dance, that they do, and I thought, okay, this is not my world because this is not So, but for all the people who may be hyper religious and think that it's just you can go out there and totally have a good sanctified Holy Ghost filled time and be perfectly okay. We had a hilarious. No, we won't get into this because this was just for. This was
no tell.
Yeah, you and I had a hilarious conversation on the phone when COVID started.
Oh gosh,
do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
No, we're gonna just tease the people with that, but that was the funniest thing ever.
I literally laughed until I thought I almost died.
That was cathartic for both of us. So, you're in the business world. What have you seen over the past since all this? What's it looking like? And talk about what you've seen and where do you think we're going? What do you think the next 2 years are going to look like?
What I've seen is a lot of skewed data and a lot of what I feel like from the market to the ground. When I call the ground, I mean the working industrial world is very disconnected. And we see that with all of our customers right now. We're seeing them, they're cutting shifts. Instead of working 3 shifts and overtime, they're working 1 shift 6 hours a day. And then we have a market over here that's, just eating cotton candy and kissing unicorns. I don't know. It's so disconnected. I was talking to one of my wealth management guys that I work with, and he's like, "Oh, stay in the market. It's strong. It's strong." I'm like, "Man, there's no way the market is as strong as it supposedly is." we generally, in our business, in the staffing business, we see a downturn usually 6 to 8 months before the market sees it. And I've seen it. I've been in the staffing business since I was 17. So I've seen a couple of downturns in the economy, and my dad used to always tell me, he said 6 to 8 months, that we're starting to see it now. You mark the calendar, and it was always on target. So we've started seeing a pretty good downturn in the past month, and I'm not a fortune teller, or I don't know the future, but I know that the data doesn't match what we see and what we're seeing in the reported from our government and in our market. So I hope we don't have an economic downturn, but I mean, gosh, there's so many supply chain issues. We work with a lot of automotive manufacturers, and one of the automotive manufacturers right now, they're pulling tires off of finished cars. So they have a 300,000 2021 cars that are built that they don't have chips for, that now there's a rubber shortage, and they're pulling the tires off of these cars, putting them on blocks and donuts, like spare tires, because they need the tires to resell. So it's unlike anything I've ever seen right now. And I don't see an end in the next year to two.
So here's what your average, and oh gosh, don't get me started on that. We're living in the day and age of outrage and hyper opinion and everybody being loud and talking about things they don't understand. But your average run-of-the-mill, watches Fox News every night, Tucker Carlson is my hero, person says, well, I tell you why nobody wants to work is because now they stopped all the big unemployment.
I don't think any of that is making a difference right now.
What do you think is causing?
It's so hard to say. We're usually a pretty good leading indicator about what's happening in our economy because we're a staffing company. So
I'm perplexed by that. What do you think is the root of the how you say 6 to 8 months? That's very interesting. How do you think that? I see how that would tell the story, because if all of a sudden people aren't having the flood of workers that they need, well, then that surely indicates. But what do you think causes that?
There's a lot of data with unemployment right now. So if somebody is actively seeking work, they are counted in the unemployment numbers and in the numbers of actively looking employees. So if that time period of 16 months ends, they fall out of that number. So it makes our unemployment numbers look a little better. So where they're saying our unemployment numbers are in the in the 3% range, it's not an accurate number. Where is it going, or what has caused it? It's so hard. There was a lot of, and there is a lot of money. I was talking to my banker the other day, and there's so much money right now in the economy. So I always use this example. The Afghanistan war in Afghanistan was right under $1 trillion cost to our country over 20 years. We just pushed $3.5 trillion into our country in the past, 15 months. Mm-hmm. So you can only imagine the amount of waste and spending in a war. So triple that and flood it into our economy. And there's so much money right now floating around, from big corporations to just earmarked money that went to the Kennedy Foundation and all these different organizations that Congress did. And it's unbelievable. And I think we're so cash flushed as a country, whether it's inflated cash or it's still cash. Mm-hmm. And I think the same thing is happening on a micro scale in your hourly wage worker. If you take a company and you say, okay, they got $3 million in government subsidies from PPP loans, things of that nature. The average worker got, not an equivalent to $3 million, but they got half a year's salary, probably in stimulus. And there's a lot of programs right now that are still paying more, like they're upping some of the food programs where they're paying more. And I just think there's so much cash in the market that, people that are used to surviving on less money are really taking this and using it and extending the life of that money. Mm-hmm. That is all that I can tell you. I can tell you a lot of times during tax return season, so from January to May in our industry, in the staffing industry, we always see kind of a downturn in being able to hire employees. They have a tax return, and so they lay out of work for a little while.
Heavy, yeah.
So I think it's kind of the same thing on a much bigger scale happening right now.
I see. Okay, that does make sense.
that is an uneducated opinion of mine. But
It's a pretty good opinion, though.
I've seen it year after year. We see the same thing.
Wow. What would you tell? I mean, you've got kids that are not quite college age, but man, one's just graduated college and out in her career. My son's a senior. What would you tell young people who are maybe just middle class and don't have a big jumping off point and are just trying to figure out what would be your advice to young people to start looking at nowadays? What do you think the hot thing is to jump into?
One thing we didn't talk about, I also build swimming pools. I have a swimming pool contractor company, and I think, I've stressed it to my children. My children are 10 and 15. I've stressed to them, learn a trade, and I fully believe that. I went to college, and
An art major.
I was an art major, and buddy, I'm painting paintings right now.
Right.
I tell you, not really at all. So, a college education is great, and I don't discount that, but I also think you are only as good as you are. If you want to push, if you want to drive, you'll be whatever you want to be. I was 120th in my class grade-wise. Mm-hmm. And that stuff just, I hate to say it doesn't matter. I push my kids to make good grades, but I'm telling you, it's the drive.
But so many other things matter as well.
So many other things matter way more, in my
multi-dimensional.
Opinion. Yeah, absolutely.
That's another thing that you and I think that's why your advice, and it's usually, rarely do I give you advice. Mostly it's advice coming to me, and I appreciate that, by the way. We both have multiple things going on all at the same time. And I think that's one reason why you're always able to give me the advice that I need, is because you get what it is to be juggling. But, I heard a prosperity preacher say there were 4 streams. Was it 4? Somebody may have to, here I go quoting scripture and I'm supposed to know that. Multiple streams that came out of the Garden of Eden. And I heard a preacher say this years ago. He said, you should have multiple streams of income that flow to and through your life. And I remember that just struck me. Yeah. And some people say, why do you have so many irons in the fire? And why do you spin so many plates? Well, and is that stressful? Well, yeah, sure it is. You're also, again, here's a terrible podcasting job of setting up. You're also a city councilman in Argo. That's right. Right? In Argo. And so that's a mutual thing that we've always had is just keep your finger in a lot of stuff. Do a lot of different things, and I enjoy that. I think it keeps the mind sharp, and one can be an escape from another. When you're really burnt out in one thing, to be able to, and especially learn a trade. Yeah, that is very valuable, because if there's something you can go out and do, because from my vantage point, pastors are always either gods or devils with most people. They either put you up on a platform or they want to make you, the Antichrist. So most people either love you or hate you. But in by and large, in the South, in the Bible Belt, pastors are put up on a platform and that kind of thing. And, in the vending machine business that we do, some people say, doesn't that work? Isn't that degrading? And absolutely not. I love it. I love to be able to go and be viewed in a different light. When you're a pastor, people look at you like this when you walk in on Sundays, and I get that there is a level of respect that the office demands, but sometimes it's, way overinflated. And I love going out and doing something, and being able to just put and see life from a different angle and feel the satisfaction. We had to do that yesterday. We had to move a bunch of machines, which is the worst part of the vending business, because it's hard and difficult, and they're not making any money. It's just about locating the equipment and getting it set up. So I'm afraid I'm teaching my kids that, but that's something that I'm afraid has been a big lie around for a long time is, just make good grades, go to college, and it'll all, that's not at all.
Not at all.
That's not at all.
And I'm going to say something you're not going to like. You got to get up early.
You know what? Talk about it. That's I do. I talk about why you do that.
Well,
seriously.
I think,
because I agree with it 100%.
I brought a book, and it's by a local Birmingham businessman, And I'll read this because it's by Stuart Welch. And Stuart Welch, he's the mayor of Mountain Brook and also owns the Welch Group, which is a financial management company in Birmingham. And I thought this was one of his rules he wrote down. It says, learn when to say yes and when to say no. Everybody starts with the same amount of time. To accelerate your success, it's imperative that you become proficient at managing your time in a way that gets you the best results. I think, and my mom, God, she always accuses me. She's like, you're always in a hurry. And I'm like, no, I'm not in a hurry, Mom. I know what I have to do when I have to do it. And if I don't do it, I'm not going to get it done. And so I am very intentional with my time. And
yeah, you are very intentional.
Yeah, probably too much sometimes. My family feels too much sometimes.
Right.
Yeah. My daughter's like, I always know we're going to eat at this time. We're leaving at this time. It's just always, she just gives me a hard time.
She'll appreciate that. She'll appreciate that later in life.
But I think time management and not wasting your day. And if you find yourself, I used to in our staffing business, I would find myself sitting around, and while there were things going on, it didn't demand my time, but I was just sitting there and I was scrolling through Facebook, scrolling through YouTube, or whatever we did 10 years ago.
Right.
Was there even Facebook? I guess.
10. Yeah, probably 10. Yeah. But
sadly, I just remember wasting time. And I thought, gosh, I could be a lot more productive. I could be working on a business. And that's when, I don't know if you remember, but I had an outdoor store.
Yeah.
Coos Outfitters. And so I started that. And so it just kind of, I've just always tried to every day. I think if you can take one thing from this podcast, every day take one step in the direction that you want to go. May not be 30 steps. And John Maxwell always uses the analogy of chopping down a tree. Mm-hmm. You can't chop it down in one day, but you can take a look at it every day. And eventually that tree is going to fall. So I think that's a huge thing. So if you want to own a vending business or you want to own a swimming pool contractor business, what are you doing every day? You can't take a day off from it. You have to move forward every day. Mm-hmm. And I think that's it. And it's self-driven, and nobody's going to do it for you. And that's where people lose out, because people are not self-motivated. They're not self-driven. And John Maxwell always talks about this: the most important person you can lead yourself. And that is it, in my opinion. You got to lead yourself.
So many people in the world who do not lead themselves are out there on their social media trying to lead the world.
Yes.
Trying to lead the world. The people that are the least motivated are the ones that have the most opinion and throwing all that stuff out there. They're just constantly chirping about something all the time. And that social media, man, is such a distraction. Lee is big on time management. He wrote Time Management Magic, and he keeps this. He carries around a day planner. He says not to even use your phone to do that, because the phone is too tempting to jump on other things. So he does written lists and carries the little book around with the zipper, and does all of that kind of thing. And that helped revolutionize. I used to walk around kind of wearing it like a badge of honor, that to be stressed. Now that's something your family's a little bit right in that you're always moving, but it's not like a stress.
Can you delete that from the
right?
video,
Yeah,
please?
we'll edit that right out. It's not like a stressed out. It's just I would describe it as just hyper focused, And I used to wear it as a badge of honor to think stress equals you're working hard. Just because you're stressed out doesn't necessarily mean you're getting after it. It could literally mean right the opposite.
It'll literally kill you.
It will literally, and especially as we get older, as you and I have learned over here in our 40s now, that it will do. Staffing business, the swimming pool, the contracting thing. Do you still doing the snow cone thing?
Oh yeah, we still got it.
What else do I not know about?
That's it.
That's it. So multiple
that
different streams, and the staffing business has offices in
Gadsden, Fort Payne, Auburn, and Auburn, Opelika, and Birmingham.
Yep. We're gonna one day be in Fort Payne at the same time. We are gonna plant a church there.
Oh yeah.
At some point. Let's delve into this a little bit, even though this is probably my least favorite topic to talk about politically. What in the world has happened? How do you see things going? Do you think President Biden will be the president in the next go around? I say no. I say something else is going to happen. I say he's a one-term guy, and
I'll give you my opinions from the perspective of being on the city council, being involved in, we go to a lot of congressional area meetings for our district, which our congressmen and senators are at. And I tell you what I've learned. I've learned. I think that it will shift. There's always historically a shift back to the other party midterm. So I think we're going to swing to Republican this time. I do feel like, I mean, this is just my opinion, but I feel like, he probably will be a one term, but there's so many refugee, quote unquote, refugee status people being brought in right now. And they're not citizens. They're allowing them to vote. And the more they can bring in from, and when I say they, I mean the Democratic Party, it just gives them more power over our country.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading a book about the first Supreme Court cases that were ever heard in our country. And, man, we have...
It's on me.
Telephone call.
That's on me.
You good?
I'm good.
Okay. I lost my train of thought. Can't conclude your podcast.
That's where the edit comes in.
Okay.
That's where the edit comes in. Supreme Court.
Oh, Supreme Court rulings that I was reading about, and we have strayed so far from the intent of our government, and we know that in the back of our mind, but we live in today.
Right.
So, but when you read those original Supreme Court arguments, like the first, it's the 100 Supreme Court cases you need to know. It was a book I bought off Amazon, and I thought, man, it's brilliant reading it. It's like a 3 or 4, 5 page synopsis of the cases. And you see how far the intent has gone, and all these judges, and I'm going down a rabbit trail.
No, go ahead.
But all these judges that legislate, that are making law from their seat as a judge, is absolutely terrible. They should not do it, and they do it all the time. And it's not how our country was founded. Judges are supposed to enforce the law, not create laws. That's what we have our legislative branch for. So, and they just, our government, our leaders, they allow it at every level. And I hate to say this, but I will say it. I don't know if a lot of Democrats are any better than a lot of Republicans.
I agree with that.
I have seen it, and I didn't feel that way a year ago. But as I've been in the political realm for this past year in the city council and working with politicians on state level and Washington level, very disappointed in them.
What do you now? I'm not a huge fan of the two-party system. I think that's why we are just so obviously polarized. Now, have you heard about who's the guy that was? He ran for on the Democratic ticket, ran for president. And he's created the Forward Party. He's recently come out of the Democratic Party and trying to create a. Do you think there's ever any hope of having more than two parties? Can you see that working? Who is the guy? What's his name? He's Asian. The Asian guy. Is it Zhang? Zhang. Somebody Google that for me.
Not sure.
Yeah.
I don't right now.
Look at Google Forward Party Zhang. I think his last name is Zhang. If I'm mispronouncing it, somebody will accuse me of being a racist.
It's true.
I think we need a third. I think a third party would be a healthy thing.
Yeah, I don't think it would be bad, but I don't think either party is going to allow the foothold. They're
give enough of their base up to
they're going to
party.
do all they can do to shut that down.
Because it works. It works right now. Just making everybody have to jump to one side or the other. But was I right? Yang. Oh gosh, they'll get somebody.
Close.
Don't kill me in the comment section. Andrew Yang. Yeah, he ran, and there for just a minute, everybody was really, like him and Tulsi Gabbard. Everybody was all excited about them, and he's. This was just a few days ago, right? He's come out and made the Forward Party, and I think it's interesting that a Democrat is the one who decided to.
I think our Democratic Party has turned into the Communist Party.
Well, in by and large, yeah.
This is another one, just one of my side notes for you, going down a rabbit trail. But I think a lot of our social, and a lot of people may not agree with this, but I feel like I'm sort of I love history and I love governmental history. I have a lot of presidential memorabilia and stuff. I really love it. And but a lot of it started with FDR. That was where he was great friends with Stalin and Mussolini. And so a lot of the social programs that we saw start with the New Deal back in the in the 40s and 50s, that was all kind of based on a communist approach. And it's just continued. It's that pot. You just turn it up a little, keep stirring it.
Sure.
And it just keeps happening. So.
jumping off of politics, I want to. What
Praise
do you?
God.
Right, I know, right? Yeah, I don't. I really don't enjoy talking about it unless I know I'm with somebody that I can have a level-headed conversation about. And one of the things that that was preached to me, my dad was so, maybe to a fault, maybe too conservative. But one of the things that I've had preached to me is do not go into debt at all. And I'd like to hear your take on that. Obviously, we do Dave Ramsey here at the church. We offer it almost every small group semester that we do. And we've seen fantastic results. And I basically, I will always go into it and share my story, excuse me, where, we at one point in life when we had first started in the ministry and when we just had 3 babies at home and, Misty wasn't working because it wasn't worth the paying the daycare. We had a period in life where we had a lot of debt, credit cards, car payments, and all that. And we got out of all that. And that has been really the secret key, along with, of course, following what the Word of God says about how to prosper and the multiple streams and things we've already covered. But staying out of debt has just been a core principle of mine. Don't do that. And I'd like to hear your take. As you operate on a higher level, what is your debt tolerance, and what would you, especially speaking? I'd like for us to stay slanted to a younger generation, because my kids are college age, high school seniors, and they're always over at their house and they're always asking questions and wanting to know, what about this? And so we get the student loan question, which I think is the biggest pyramid scheme ever. I mean, it's not marish, but for so many, there's no other way to go, seemingly no other way to go about doing it. So debt, talk to me about the credit cards, car payments, student loans. I know mortgages. I know there is some good debt, but what's your take on it?
So I don't think, and I'm just talking from my perspective.
Right.
I never have struggled with debt, and I know a lot of people think, oh, well, you came from a good family. Well, let me tell you, my dad didn't give me anything free.
Not free for sure.
You can attest to that.
Right? Yeah.
So, there are times in your life where you do have to lean on. I mean, that's why there is a credit system in our country. I think there are times you're going to have to use a credit system to use money. Now, I know Dave Ramsey and a lot of those different teachings they teach against that. I'm not completely against that. So and I know you said slant it towards a younger generation, but I am thinking about a younger generation of entrepreneurs. If there's an opportunity that presents itself and it's good, you may have to use the bank to help you. Have I used the bank before? Absolutely. I don't carry any debt, very, very little, and I'm blessed to not have to. But to start, I have carried debt. So I think it's just you got to be a good manager of money. Debt doesn't scare me if you can manage money. If you can manage your life and manage your time. If you can't, then debt does scare me. So that's kind of my take on it with people. So many people can't manage it, and they absolutely ruin their life. I'll tell you just quickly, my dad in the mid-'80s filed for bankruptcy. Came back from that and was an ultra successful businessman. So, can you recover from bad mistakes financially? Yes. And the only way, and this is one of my dad's favorite things to say, and it's one of my favorite things to say, you're going to pay for your learning. So you're never, Dave Ramsey can hand you a book and try to teach you something, but you're never going to pay till it's your learning. And, I appreciate people like him and other people trying to teach a younger generation, but younger generations, they've been spoon-fed. Here you go, in every avenue, and really, hard times make good men.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. Wow. Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah. See, sometimes I think I just try to teach the lesson and I forget how I learned the lesson. Sometimes you just got to guide them. Yeah. I think you got to guide them down the path, because the reason I am so against, and I'd like to Google that for me.
For you. So.
Yeah, we're going to Google some stuff. How many millionaires have gone bankrupt at one time? Alicia, will you Google that? And because I heard a statistic on that was amazing. Also, a statistic that's amazing is the number of the wealthiest CEOs in America that are not college graduates. So the path to truly being successful. You got a quote?
Yeah,
Go
I do
ahead.
have a quote. I wanted to read you this. The quote is attributed to G. Michael Hopf. I'm not familiar with who he is, but I thought this quote was amazing. Hard times create strong men. Strong men create good times. Good times create weak men, and weak men create hard times.
So full circle.
Full circle.
Wow.
So you're going to learn. You're going to get it right. You're going to get it wrong. We're going to screw the whole world up, and then you're going to learn.
And then we're going to do it again. Yeah. Oh, and I say that is I don't believe in living in fear, but
we're there.
That's what gives me anxiety is that we're there,
Yeah,
is
we're
that
there.
we just simply have had it too good. Did you find that?
This says that the average millionaire goes bankrupt at least 3.5 times.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. That's amazing. It makes me feel good.
Okay, see, that was a good example of, wow, the average millionaire goes bankrupt at least
3.5, right? 3.5 times. I'm going to try not to do that.
I'm going to try not to do. I don't even want to go half bankrupt. Well, okay, so I guess that's it. I guess sometimes we try to teach these lessons that are only hard learned.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of just trying to build the character that would be able to process through the difficult time.
Come on.
Right?
Oh.
I guess that's what we're trying to do, because because you can always tell when you're talking with somebody, and I hate trying to teach someone who I can tell either can't or is not ready to get it. Mm-hmm. But there is nothing like talking to someone. When I was on the phone with a pastor just the other day, battling a battle that is very consistent with pastoring, and a few conversations some time ago, I could tell he's not ready yet. It was something I had experience on, something I had some wisdom. I knew I would be able to give him something that he needed. But then on the phone yesterday, I was like, I can hear him getting this. I can hear this sinking in. And so that's hard for me to hear as a dad, and even as a pastor, someone who tries to teach younger generation, because I love that. I desperately don't want them to go through what I went through. Yeah. But perhaps the only way they get to receive it is to experience on some kind of level, maybe not as difficult, but I don't know, maybe that's the whole slant. Maybe the whole slant is that one generation always tries to do the whole thing of, I want my kids to have an easier time than what I had, but the time I had made me what I am.
Absolutely. And my kids, your kids, they're all having an easier upbringing than we had.
Right.
But my daughter, if you ask my daughter, she would make you think that I make them live in a barn and don't feed them, I do try to. I mean, I'm tough with my kids, and I think it's good. And my daughter hates it. I said, one day you'll appreciate it, because you'll have stories to tell your children from my raising.
Sure.
And she loves to tell the story about me chasing her around the yard with a belt.
I don't believe that for a second.
No, it's a lie.
Right. No, you have very well-mannered children. Who are very bright, and you can see that in them for sure. Cruz,
they both know to work hard, and my son and daughter both will outwork anybody, and that's what I look for in a generation. And you're talking about slant it to the younger generation, who will stay here after the service and clean up the service, set the chairs up. Who's here first, who's here last, who's here when you don't ask. Those are the qualities of a successful person to me.
Hey, that is encouraging, because a lot of our younger generation the faces that are popping in my head are those people. What's the most difficult thing you've ever been through in your whole life?
Oh, Lord. Give me a minute. Let me think about that.
Yeah.
Well, I think, and it's, I hate to it sounds kind of cliche. My dad died. That was tough.
I know it was tough on you.
Yeah. You think that you're ready, and I'm a prepared person, played every scenario in my mind that I could play. And it's hard, it doesn't matter your age when you lose your parents. It is hard. You miss your father or your mother. My mom is still with me, but you think everything and have said everything you wanted to say, and then you realize you didn't. And that's the hard part. And gosh, I mean, I worked with my dad every day. So I saw him every day. So it wasn't like we weren't communicating or weren't around each other. We were around each other all the time. But I think, I'm going to read you another quote.
Yeah.
I like this a lot. It's it talks about just, we need to share things. Let me find it real quick. It says, everything we say at funerals should be said at birthday parties. Instead, we leave so much love left unspoken. And I think that's so true. You know, somebody's laying there in a casket, and you say, "Man, they were my best friend. I loved them," but you never told them.
Wow.
And I think, and I honestly, I have tried to do that, and people don't know how to take it.
Mm-hmm.
When you walk up to them, you know, people in the church are a little bit better with that, saying, you know, I love you.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I hope so.
I feel like they are, but people not. You know, I'm in a lot of secular environments that aren't church. I have been in a lot of church environments, so I see it. And but there's people that impact your life that you need to tell them how much you appreciate them and that you love them. And you know, people, you know, we'll walk up, we say, "Hey, man, I love you." We don't think anything about it,
Right.
but so many people, and I'm thinking about a few different environments. They've never heard that they were loved.
Mm.
And you know, while it seems like a small, insignificant gesture, it means the world to them.
And I think that's what's under attack, really, is true communication.
Yeah.
True communication.
Yeah.
And because talking with someone, I mean, that is how the church is designed to function in a fallen world.
Mm-hmm.
Is deep is meant to call unto deep.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a real King Jamesy way of saying you're supposed to be able to just communicate with one another very heartfelt through the good times and bad.
Yep.
And that is what helps, one of the greatest tools to help shape the good person you are supposed to become.
Right.
It just inspired me. Dad helped me yesterday with a business thing, and his mind that is not as sharp as it used to be, but he had a moment, just a flash yesterday where he come up with a solution to a very complicated problem. And I made a note last night. I better text him and tell him how much I appreciated that. So as soon as we're done, I'm going to do that. That you inspired me to do that. But that's what I try to, and you hear the younger generation beat on all the time about it. They're just constantly have their nose in a phone, look somebody in the eye, talk to them. But I see that talking about, are we on the downward spiral, the quote where everything comes full circle. I do see a very positive uptick in that there's a generation on the earth right now that have grown up with social media. They know most everything you read or see is not true. They're kind of okay with knowing that most everything that's out there on a screen is probably a lie or twisted or slanted or a spin of some sort, or there's a narrative behind it. And they really value a true human interaction, true human contact, real communication. They really, and that is what's going to save the world, in my opinion.
I'm going to tell you one quick short story. So a couple of weeks ago was my daughter's homecoming at her school, and I helped with the float for her grade. And, I really haven't. I mean, when I was in the church, I was obviously around younger people and, helped with youth groups and things like that. And I always liked that and loved that. But when I got back in that environment, man, I felt those kids. They were
energy, right?
Man, it was energy, and what I tell you what I really felt. Now these are secular kids. They're not your youth group.
Right.
My daughter told me, she said, every kid in my grade told me how much they loved my dad. And that meant a ton to me.
Well, best compliment you could hear.
Yeah. And I tell you, and she said, what did you do? I said, I connected with them. I gave them a high five. I told them they were doing great. I said, I didn't care what they were doing. Right. I encouraged them. I believed in them.
Yeah, come on.
And they felt that. And man, it really sparked a little bit of I was like, man, I need to get back engaged with this age. Because
yeah, you do. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you will.
Yeah.
Your kids are just now at the age where a lot of that's going to happen organically. But let me put gasoline on that fire for sure.
Yeah.
Do that because they soak it up.
Yeah.
They soak it up. The greatest compliment, my oldest daughter, with some of her friends, they'll say, and a lot of them come from good families. Say, can you be, Dad 2.0, or can you be, can I be a Bearden kid?
Right.
And that's the greatest compliment you can hear.
Makes you feel great.
Yeah, and to be able to, Misty will, on their first day of school, or if they get a new job, we'll contact them, just like their natural parents do. But to be engaged and we're so fortunate at Flow Church where several parents that all have kids of similar age. We're connected. We realize we're kind of, we're a village. We're doing it together. Yeah. And when we dedicate babies here, one of the things that I have people to do, obviously the mom and the parents, they come up front with the kid, and you got all the pretty outfits and all that stuff. and the certificate, and then we give them a Bible and blah, blah, blah. One of the things I do is then I turn around to the congregation and I say, parents, even if your kids are grown, you've got testimonies and stories that these people need to hear. And so if you're going to support them, then you stand if you're going to support, and I kind of make them be involved in that process. So that's encouraging to hear. And I do think the generation that's coming up now, if we can, by the grace of God, know how to teach them some of these things, I tend to want to just be able to say, do this, this, and this, and this, and do it, and never suffer, and never. That's probably an area where I need to grow and realize they're going to have to learn some of this on their own. They're just going to figure some of this out, and that's tough. It's tough though. I want to just be able to just sort of impart that to them. I don't know that it necessarily works that way, but that's good stuff. Man, listen, I always appreciate talking. It's always fun. We always cover just like what this is exactly how I felt like this would go. We would cut on each other a little bit. Talk about some of the fun stuff and the travel and some of the things. You're always doing interesting stuff, so I definitely want to have you back on the podcast at some point and come back in and talk about stuff. But you are a great friend. You are top on the list of someone, especially if it's in a business sense. But let me say this, not just in a business sense, not just when I'm needing business advice. There have been sometimes recently where I was going through hell, spiritual and emotional hell. And you, in the same way that you do in business, were solid as a rock. I was able to call you and, lay out this, and this, when the church burned 5 years ago. We had no idea how all that was going to play out and what all was going to, come from that. That looked like a life-altering, and in many ways was. Probably wasn't as bad as I was.
But you learned.
But I learned. I did. But I needed a voice.
Yeah. You need a voice.
Everybody
needs a voice.
Yeah, that is stable and that can just at least have the tone of whatever comes from it, you're going to be all right. And you were that for me, and I really do appreciate that. That really does mean a lot. And so in attempting to model what we've just talked about of being able to tell somebody I'm not going to stand at your casket and because we're going in the rapture, hallelujah. I'm not going to stand at your casket and say all this stuff. I'll tell you to your face. I really appreciate it, brother.
Well, I appreciate you very much
right,
as well.
man.
Hold on, before we close.
Okay.
I got one question. What are you reading right now? Any good books?
I am reading, is it Winning the War in Your Mind by, is that the name? Is that the title? By Craig Rochelle.
Oh, okay. I hadn't seen that.
Yeah.
Good?
Winning. Yeah, fantastic.
Okay.
You want me to give you a nugget from it?
Sure.
We'll end with a nugget.
End with a nugget.
So he in it he talks about hang on. Let's just a little bit.
Let's start this podcast.
Yeah, one time. Too much time. He says this, and that I see a therapist on the regular just because pastoring is hard, and a lot of pastors are doing that nowadays. Just because, and we offer that here with staff. Any of them that want to go, we will provide them to be able to do that. One of the areas where science and the household of faith are finally meeting, because for so often the Christians have been just as guilty as the scientists have been, that we act like they're not exclusive. They can be together, but the field of cognitive behavioral therapy. Where, and I may butcher this because I'm a moron, but basically the idea is identifying the thought, figuring out what the conversation you're having with yourself, knowing how to swap that for identify that it's a lie and put in the truth. That's a very layman's definition. But there are therapists and psychologists, psychiatrists, and science people in the field of science that are turning to the Word of God because they're finding out, hey, wait a minute, this is what the Bible's been saying. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus. Bring every thought into captivity to the knowledge of Christ. Going, hey, wait a minute, casting down imaginations. Wow, this is what we're teaching. It's what the Bible's been saying all along. The problem is we haven't had a church to live it out, to show it to them. Another point. So in it, he talks about how there's this big revolution going on. That hey, there's therapists that weren't born again that are getting born again because they're realizing, hey, this new way of doing therapy with people has been found in the Word of God. One of the things he talks about in there is framing, mental framing, knowing how to frame a thought or frame a day or frame an opportunity or a challenge that's in front of you. And this is what he does. And he actually demonstrated, there's a video of it, and you can look it up on YouTube, where he preaches a whole sermon series that is the basis for the book. And he has this huge picture up on his platform, this big picture. It was maybe 8 feet wide. And it looks like it's taken from like an airplane, right at that moment where you're coming up over the clouds. And in the bottom right corner are dark clouds, it's like a storm. And then as you move to the upper left-hand corner, it's like you get above the storm and you can see the sun shining, off in the distance. He then takes a little small, regular picture-size frame, like an 8x10, that's empty. It's just the frame. And he walks over to the big picture and he says, I get to choose what part of the big picture that I frame. And he takes the small frame and he puts it over where all you can see are just the clouds, or the storm clouds. And he says, a lot of people will have a day or a life or a season or an opportunity that's got both. Oh, yeah. There's some storm and there's some sunshine. But so many people don't recognize they've been given the power to frame each day how they choose to frame it. And so he puts the frame over the storm and all you can see is the storm. But he said, but look, same picture, same day, same life, same opportunity, but someone who, by the word of God, has been given the power to know they can have control over their mind, or a better way of saying it is to have the mind of Christ. Yeah. He moves the frame up to the corner, to the left-hand corner, and it's the sunshine. And so framing everything, and this is something that in our Rejoicing in Recovery, we have people that have dealt with addiction, and then I've just been teaching it just to people that I mentor that you gotta wake up every day and frame it. And it's not always easy, but if you've got a challenge or something, you can say, well, I'm either going to frame this as this is today's stress. Or it's tomorrow's relief, it's tomorrow's payoff, whatever it's working toward. And it does help you kind of walk through decisions a little bit better, and it helps you. And so that book is fantastic because it's really encouraging on the first few chapters, because it shows you, and the church sometimes doesn't want to believe this, that there is a whole group of people out there that are coming to faith in unique ways. It's not through sermons, it's through this breakthrough in the way therapists are doing therapy. And when I heard that, I was like, man, we spend all this time talking about where are the dinosaurs and how many are the literal days of creation and stuff that, quite frankly, I don't care. I don't give a crap. I don't care if it was 7 literal days or if it was 1 billion years. I don't care how old the earth is. I care how I feel when I live in it. And but to hear that science and faith were coming together on something was super encouraging. And my therapist was like, man, I know guys who were staunch against anything of faith because they've seen so many people use it the wrong way. But then this comes in and has changed the game for them. So I was all jazzed about it. So that's the one book I'm reading. What about you?
Right now I've been reading a book called, I read a lot of different books, but I've been reading 5 Presidents, and it's about a Secret Service agent that worked for 5 different presidents. And I love stuff like that, and I've been reading that and some. Like I said, I coach CrossFit, so I love any kind of exercise, physiology type stuff. So I've been reading some stuff like that, but nothing as high and lofty as.
Well, I am a man of the collar.
Man of the collar.
Right. Matter of fact, I'm ending this podcast and going to baptize someone at their house. How cool is that?
In a swim pool or the creek?
In a swim pool. It might be a Dusty Stinson. What's the name of the company?
No, it was not. I didn't build one in Ashville.
You didn't build one. It's in Springville.
Springville. It could be. I have built quite a few.
Hallelujah! Look at God.
Come on.
You build them. You dig them, and I baptize them.
I was baptized in a swimming pool.
Were you really?
I was in my backyard.
I was baptized in a creek and then later on in a baptistry.
Because you lost your salvation?
I lost it, because you can lose it just like that. Everybody knows that. Different podcast for a different day. Listen, Dusty, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for doing this. I know people are really going to enjoy it, particularly young. I'd say young. I don't know why I wanted to slant the whole thing to you. I guess because I have kids, and I wanted them to, all the conversations that we've been having lately. But I do appreciate it very much, and, man, much success. And go to Disney, stay on property. And Cassie, if you watch this, make him to drive you to the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
It'll be a great time. Love you, brother. I appreciate you very much.
Love y'all too.
Good deal.